Hello and welcome to another Talking To episode. I'm your host Teddy, and today I'm being joined once again by...
Hayden.
And today we're going to talk about the TMNT 2012 Season 2 Episode 3, Follow the Leader. So, what do you think about this episode briefly?
This episode was a very interesting one, to say the least. We explored some new things, and we found out some very important information about Karai and Master Splinter, which was very interesting to know. But I kind of felt like I already knew what was going on with Master Splinter and Karai, because it was just so obvious that they had some history together, and I swear that it brought up the information a while ago in the first season, didn't they? About it?
They didn't mention it like a few episodes. They didn't really mention it. Really, it was just more like Splinter found out about it in the season 1 finale, and that's pretty much all they really went off. And so yeah.
That makes a lot more sense now.
Yeah, I have to say, but this episode was pretty great for a lot of reasons, with like the footbots and stuff like that. And then also, like, one thing which I was thinking about, like, with the Cry stuff, it was just for, like, now that I don't have to, like, keep any more secrets about it, and I feel like you already know, like, the direction that they're going to take the storyline, so, yeah, I must admit that's, like, quite handy for me not to really just go into, like, spoiler territory, so that's just great for me. But, yeah. Okay, so starting this episode off, we do get to see the turtles out on a mission patrol, and they're looking through, like, the bins and stuff like that, and Mikey finds a iguana, like, teddy bear type of thing, but throws away because there's sawdust in it, and Karai is also, like, finds out about this, and she starts as a roof thing, and, yeah. So, what do you think about that opening bit?
It was nice to see that the turtles are actually actively looking for the mutagen, and they just didn't, that they're not stopping. Just they're trying to make up for the mistake of literally carpet bombing the city with mutagen. So I'm glad that they're sorting out this mess, because I don't know if we could have like another squirrel alien sort of situation going on like last episode. So that's fun to watch. But I really did like. Well, I wouldn't say like. I was a bit weirded out by the fact that Mikey found like an iguana or a lizard type thing stuffed with sawdust and a monocle and a top hat. Like, I have so many questions on why someone would have that, and just I have so many questions about that one bit. So I am just I don't know whether it was a reference from another comic or another series of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. I am just completely oblivious.
Yeah, no, the iguana thing was all original just for the series, but yeah, I must admit, I do have questions about that, like, why does someone have that, but at the same time, it is a really cool thing, and something which I would probably own and, like, keep forever. Like, that's the type of thing that I would use. But, like, the one thing which I didn't really understand was that Mikey, like, thrown away because there's sawdust and might be a distant relative of the turtles. I didn't really understand that all too much, but that is what it is. And then, like, even with the cry thing, I did find that to be interesting, that she could somehow overhear the turtles know about the mutagen thing, but I don't understand why she sliced the roof thing whatsoever. I found that to be pointless, but it's a little bit cool. And then also, like, another thing which you all mentioned, with the turtles already going off and going out and find the mutagen, I do really like that, because I do think it, like, really, like, shows off the turtles do want to, like, clean up their mistakes, and I do like that aspect of the story and their characters, and I do think it's interesting what they do with it for, like, the first handful of episodes. But yeah. Okay, so then after the intro, we do get to see the turtles doing a training scene where more or less the turtles have to go, have to try and get past Leo to get to the other side, and all turtles do all unique things. What do you think about that scene?
Yeah. Before we get onto that scene, correct me if I'm wrong, but I swear Raph said about it's pointless. Something was pointless than a Ninja Turtle wearing a trench coat. I don't know if you picked up on that.
Yeah.
And immediately I thought, oh my gosh, is this a reference to the 2003 comics in when they're dressed up in a trench coat, you know? I don't know. Maybe that was a reference to something.
Oh, what? I mean, with the trench coat thing, it all started in the '80s show, and the Mollusk Turtles were just wearing a trench coat and a hat, and that's literally all they wore in the streets. And no one noticed that they were green screen or anything, and somehow that worked. And then it sort of became like a running gag on Turtles, and then it got carried over to the 1990 movie. And then in 2003 show, I think it's only used once. The 2012 show, they do use it like very late into the show. Then also like other versions of like it's sort of become like a running gag, and I was thinking it just works so well. And I think for like once you do got like I think like once you do got to see like all the other versions of Turtles wearing the trench coat, you'll be like, yeah, okay, that's a thing. It's Turtles.
Okay.
Yeah. So what do you think about the training scene with the Turtles trying to get past Leo?
I actually really enjoyed watching that because, of course, Leo is the leader of the group and he's trying to train his brothers in arms to fight like he's doing. But however, as many people may know, the Turtles are very different to one another. They all have their special personalities and traits, and it was pretty cool to see how they portrayed those traits. So, for instance, Leo is the leader. He wants things done a certain way, and he's very OCD about it. And then, of course, you get Mikey, who loves his music and his passion for like the comics and his like creativity. So he uses a different fighting technique to overcome Leo. Then, of course, you get Donnie, who's a mathematician and thinks about the physics side of things and how he can defeat his enemies. And then Raphael just tends to go straight in, doesn't think about nothing, and uses brute force. And it's just great to see that we can identify those different traits from the Turtles, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, I really did enjoy how like each of the fighting styles did definitely really show off like all Turtles in like very different and unique ways, and really show off their personalities. Which must admit, like really did like help create the scene, make it a bit more fun and more unique, and just make all Turtles feel like very different, which I think like worked in like quite a few ways. And yeah, I don't really anything really like great to say about it, just because I thought it was like really cool to see them do unique things. But at the same time, it's not really like a bad thing. I just think that one of those scenes where like it's cool for what they've done, but at the same time, you know, what else I can add really. So then going into the next scene, we do get to see Karai is training with the Footbots, and then she gets overpowered, and Shredder says that he needs to leave to Japan and stuff like that. What do you think about that scene?
To be honest, at first I didn't have much to think about it. It's like, oh, it's just another fight scene with the foot soldiers, and Karai's gonna defeat them all. La di da di da. But to be honest, to my surprise, I was a bit shocked because the foot, they looked a bit different to their normal counterparts, and I was thinking, hold on a minute, what's up with their eyes? And then of course, when I heard their like I don't know if that's the word, roboticness. I terrible word, I know, but I don't even know if that is actually a word or not. But hey ho, roboticness. I'll just call it that for now. And then of course they were dodging Karai's moves. They were learning like really quickly on different fighting techniques, and it was just a bit weird because I'm thinking, what the hell? The Shredder has no way that he can create such weapons. And then of course he comes in and says, oh look, this is the Krang's doing, and these things are lethal. And to be honest, Shredder would have let the Krang bots do their job and strike her down, Karai, which was a bit worrying because that's, well, adopted daughter, as we would say now. Like, Shredder would absolutely let Karai be beaten or potentially be killed in that situation just to show his power and dominance.
Yeah, I mean, I did really enjoy this fight scene, and I do think that like, having them come in here and doing like training, I do think it worked really well for showing off how big of a threat they truly are if Karai struggled to fight them. And I do think that's like really cool and really great to see. And I don't really think really bad to say about it. I think they had like a really cool introduction, and I don't really know how else to really describe it. But I do like how much of a big threat they were, and how well they were shown off in the scene with them being like this. And I do think that the Shredder stuff was also pretty interesting, especially when you know like the full context with like Shredder and Karai and Splinter and stuff like that. I do think they just make it a whole lot more interesting when you do know that kind of stuff. And I do also like how they are setting like Shredder up to have like a story with Japan and stuff like that. Even though he's gone for like quite a few episodes and don't actually ever get to see any stuff in Japan, I do think like it's still quite cool like to really like set some stuff up for Shredder and also world building and stuff like that. I thought it was like pretty cool, but also at the same time not really too much I can really say about it. But yeah, I must admit overall this scene was like pretty cool just for like setting up the footbots and stuff like that. So then going into the next scene, we do get to see the turtles. We go down into a basement to find Mutant, but the mutant is actually a trap for the footbots, and we do get to see the turtles fight the footbots for the first time. What do you think about that scene?
That was actually pretty interesting to see that once again the turtles have an adversary that they cannot defeat, and they have to figure out a new way of taking down the footbots and trying to figure out. However, actually no, I should say that further in along the episode, because I don't want to say it now because that's the one thing that annoyed me. So I don't know whether to say it now or later.
We can say it now if you want to.
Basically, the one thing that I'm annoyed with this episode, all in all, is the footbots, really, and how the turtles managed to defeat the footbots.
Yeah.
God, try saying that 3 times in a row. Footbots. They were just like they were really quickly able to defeat them, and of course, I know they're ninjas and they're supposed to be adaptable and quick in certain situations. However, I just felt like it was a bit too much, because in previous episodes the turtles have had to learn and have had to adapt slowly over time to defeat an enemy, like some of the mutants and all of that they faced, and of course the Krang, and of course overall the Foot, and there was the progression there. However, there was no progression in this whatsoever. Maybe because they were too advanced. Maybe they're because I know they're very adaptable and they are. They're quite advanced in this stage within the series. So, yeah, that's the one thing that I didn't like about it.
Okay, well, I mean, like going off that scene and also talking about like the scene as well, I do think that like it worked really well for like having the turtles like struggle to fight the footbots here, and I must admit it was a pretty cool fight scene and just like really great showing of like the actual threat these footbots showed. But going off your point about all that sort of stuff, I will say this: it's really annoying with the footbots that basically after this episode, these footbots get really nerfed, and more or less they don't really have like the adaptability anymore, and they just become more or less like foot soldiers again, and don't really pose any threat. So I think that like while this scene was cool, like showing off how much they was able to adapt with the turtles and how great and strong they can be, and how much bigger foe they can be, which I think like works really great for them being like an actual threat. But when you do go into like the next one episodes where the footbots are just ordinary foot soldiers that are told can slice open now, it just feels though like this episode was a little bit pointless in so many ways, just because with the footbots, in this episode, they set up them up to be like a really big threat with them adapting and stuff like that, to then going into the next few episodes where like, oh yeah, we're not really doing that anymore. So like I find that really annoying, but with like the scenes they did get in this episode, they were really great, and I do think that this first fight scene with the turtles versus the footbots did a really great job of that. But then we do get to see the turtles retreat up an elevator, and Leo gets captured. What do you think about that scene?
That was I to be honest, I wasn't expecting it. I wasn't expecting it at all. I wasn't expecting Leo to get captured like that, because one, it's just Leo. Leo's always like, he's always the important one. I wasn't expecting him to stay behind and get captured. That was just the really shocking thing about that scene. But I did like how he sacrificed himself so that his brothers could escape. That's like the proper leadership role. Like a leader would do that in a situation. He would sacrifice himself to protect others, you know. And that was a really great thing about it. But yeah, I was completely in awe that the cable snapped and he just fell. Like, I thought he was gonna get like, I know he wasn't gonna die because it's like PG. Come on, we're gonna keep it PG here. But I was just like, when he just fell down into the elevator and it just slowly went to darkness. All I can imagine was this is Sparta from like the 300, you know,
Yeah.
like that sort of scene, like where the guy gets kicked off down into the hole, and you know that he screams, "This is Sparta." That's all I could imagine for some reason. I just had to throw that in there. So
Yeah, I mean, I found this little scene here to be like really enjoyable, and it gave me like a lot more like a darker tone for this episode, which I think worked really well. And I just like how how like great they was able to make this fight scene. Just because like most fight scenes, they're always in like a very open space, and I was always able to move around like very freely and stuff like that. And I do think that having it in like a very enclosed space was able to really limit the amount of like stuff that I was able to do, and really showed off like the skills it was able to do in like structurally small space, which I think worked really well. And do you think that like with like the sort of darker tone it was going for, I wouldn't say it was like very dark, but like it had like a somewhat of a darker tone with it, and I think that it worked really well. My main question with it is that fall was a pretty big one. How did Leo not die from that fall? It was a pretty big fall.
yeah, I did have my questions with that as well, but
It's turtles.
I just questioned it a long time ago.
Yeah. So then after that, we do get to see the turtles. I mean, just go home and talk to my Splinter and say what's happened, and that's when they find out where Leo is. Do you have anything to say about that scene?
To be honest, not much really I have to say about that. All I can say is that they went back to the lair, and of course they were contemplating on how this happened and how they didn't listen, and of course how they absolutely messed up big time.
Yeah,
But
I think it's just like one of those scenes.
yeah, it's just one of those things where they just literally, it's like how they go back and they realize they messed up big time, and they don't know how they're gonna get there. They don't know how they're gonna climb their way out of it. So yeah.
So in the next scene we do get to see Leo is fighting the footbots with like Karai. That scene, I don't know how else to really describe it. What do you think about that scene?
That was pretty interesting to see Karai and Leo back in the same room together, you know, and it was very weird because Karai was talking about how Leo had betrayed her and saying that she could make a lot of money out of him, and it was just really weird, you know, just after such a long time, and now they're back together talking again, and it was just very weird for me because I haven't seen Karai nor Leo talk like this in a very long time. And of course, when they were, I don't know whether I should call them friends or not. It's just a weird thing because Karai and Leo, they were talking and they were meeting up back in season 1, and of course, all of that stuff happened. But it's just very weird. I don't know whether they're allies, friends, or, well, to be honest, I have no clue what they are. But yeah, it was just pretty cool to see the Footbots attack Leo, and Leo trying to defeat the Footbots, because they must be... I'm going on a tangent here, so stop me if you must. Basically, I think they're like the Footbots have like this hive mind, so they're all interconnected as one like entity, so they can all figure out different ways of defeating their enemies, such as Leo. Leo was throwing all different moves at them, and of course they were able to learn so quickly with a short amount of time, which was pretty interesting to see. And that's, well, it is the Krang, and of course the Krang's like all connected all the time, so I'm guessing that's what technology they've got from the Krang, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, with that, you could more or less just put Shredder in there, like copy all of his moves, and then just put the Footbots against the Turtles. I do think they went around a bit stupid with just like letting the Footbots copy the Toad's move, and they could like copy like people online and stuff like real good martial arts stuff, and they could have easily like killed the turtles within like a
Oh
second.
yeah. Why didn't they just do that?
What could have been? But yeah, I mean, I must admit with this scene, I do think that it was pretty cool with what they was doing with the footballs and Leo. I won't necessarily say training, but with what they were doing, it was pretty cool. And I do think that with this scene, I'm pretty sure they was talking about stuff about with Karai's mother and stuff like that. And I do like how like they're starting the seeds up for like that sort of storyline, and it was starting off to be really great. But yeah, I must admit with this scene here, I thought it was like pretty cool to see Leo training and stuff like that. But it just feels that I don't know how else to really describe it. It just felt a little bit pointless in so many ways, but it was decent nonetheless. But then we do go into the next scene where we do get to see Rato's breaking into the building, and Raph has brings out a pigeon from his shell that's able to communicate to other pigeons and bring them over. What do you think about that scene?
I can't. I don't have words to describe what I saw in that scene. To be honest, when he pulled out the pigeon, I was like, how and where did he get the pigeon from, and just how was he? To be honest, I really don't know. I stopped questioning things a long time ago, because if I was to sit there and think about how he did that, I think I would go drive myself insane.
Yeah, I mean, that's the only question I really got about it all. Is that even though it was really cool to see this all scene and stuff like that, but where did Raph get that pigeon from? Where was he even hiding it? And but then also it was able to communicate with all the other pigeons. Oh my god! I don't know if
like
I
the
should
animal whisperer.
Yeah, I don't know if I should be impressed by it or just creeped out by it all, but it was amazing. But then we do go into the next scene where Turtles do actually come in contact with the Footbots and they start to fight. What do you think about the dojo fight scene with the Footbots and the Turtles?
The dojo fight scene was pretty interesting, because I think I can recall that they're at Bradford's place. They're at Bradford's old dojo, and
Yeah.
it was pretty cool to see that being used again in the series. Like, they're going back to old places, which is kind of cool. But the fact that the foot and the footbots and the turtles were fighting, it was pretty cool, and I did enjoy that because excuse me, and I did enjoy that quite a lot, and I couldn't help but laugh the fact that Raph was so headstrong and stubborn that he wanted to go fight the footbots alone, and immediately get pummeled right in the face, and just been made a laughing stock really by the footbots, just getting pummeled right in the face, and just seeing him just fall to the floor. I was like, hold on a minute, that wasn't supposed to happen.
Yeah, I mean, with this fight scene, I found it to be really cool because I think that, again, it's showing off the Turtles' fighting styles, how unique they are, and also like, how big of a threat the Footbots are, which I thought was like, really cool to see. But my main problem with this scene was the fact that the ninjas and stuff like that, how didn't they know that it was not a trap? That's my only big question about it, because that was a pretty obvious setup with Leo just sitting out there in the open. That's my biggest problem with it, but other than that, I found it to be like very cool to see the Turtles fighting and being unique with all their fighting skills. But then we do go into the next fight scene where we do get to see the Turtles out in the open in a playground where the Turtles are using all unique abilities to fight the Footballs. What do you think about that scene?
I really did enjoy that scene. I liked how they went back and they used their unique abilities to attack and defeat the footbots, and I really did enjoy the fact that the footbots were, well, I say that I enjoyed the fact that they were defeated easily and they didn't put too much of a fight up, but it was pretty cool to see, and to understand that they used The fact that they use the ability to their unpredictable ability to defeat the ninja footbots was very ingenious on the turtles' part. So yeah.
Yeah, I found like this bit here, like going back to like the opening or and like training session fight scene, to be like again like showing off details, different personalities, and it's just overall like a like all round great fight. Just seeing Toes using different abilities. Got Donnie like throwing a bunch of shurikens around, which is just amazingly great. Mikey just jumping around, being like himself, and just Raph just being like very aggressive with how he fights, and I just found it to be like, again like so fun, just showing off all the different personalities and just like really making them who they are. And with Saber, like I do like this, but I would like them to like carry this over like into more episodes, like really show off their fighting skills, not just be more or less like the same sort of character but like using different weapons. And yeah, so then to go into one of the best fight scenes, Karai versus Leo. What do you think about that fight scene?
That was a cool fight scene. I really did enjoy how Karai and Leo were fighting again after so many episodes, and it was just a really cool fight scene because we haven't seen Karai and Leo fight in quite a while, so it was pretty interesting.
Yeah, I mean, I did think that because of the context behind all of it, it just works so well with knowing everything about it, and I don't really know what to really say. It just worked so well. I think it's just like another like one of those fight scenes with like and just like last season with April and Karai that worked so well, but I can't describe it. This one, it works so well, but you can't describe it. And do you like at the end of the fight scene where Lou more or less like tells her to back off and you've got a problem deal with, and she deal the fight with me, and he deal with me. I thought that was like really great, amazing. And I just think that like the overall tone about it was just so amazing and great, and yeah, I think it's just one of those ones where I can't describe how good it is because of what they do in it, but it just works so well. So then in the final scene, we do get Splinter revealing to Leonardo that Karai is Splinter's daughter. What do you think about that scene?
To be honest, I didn't feel like I was shocked enough to be like, oh my god, that's so weird and cool at the same time, and all of that sort of stuff. I didn't have that sort of reaction to it because deep down I already knew. Like there was so many subtle hints in this episode, and of course throughout the entire series thus far, that I was able to piece together what was actually going on. And of course all the flashbacks, the images, the pictures of Splinter when he was in human form and Karai and the mother. I was able to piece it out pretty quickly, but it was very interesting to know, and it was very interesting to say that Master Splinter didn't have enough trust in his own son tell him the truth from the beginning. So that was also a very interesting concept to go down as well.
Yeah, I mean, I think that this bit here, I don't think it was the big oh my god moment and cliffhanger scene that I think I was expecting it to be, just because we already knew the information from last season, and just think that like making it a bit more clearer now that again it wasn't really that oh my god I can't believe Karai's Splinter's daughter, because it wasn't like you just revealed it in like a few episodes ago. But I mean, I do find it a little bit weird that Splinter hasn't told anyone. I think that's like the weirdest part I found about it, about like this scene. But I thought it was okay, but I just found it like very weird that they end it right here and we don't even get to see like Leo's reaction whatsoever. It was just like like Karai's my daughter, and then ends just like, okay, what am I supposed to do with that? So
Yes.
yeah, I just think I just don't think that was. I don't think it worked with how they were expecting it to work. I think that they could have gone around it in a different way, and I don't know. I mean, I understand what I was trying to do for this scene and how it could have worked well. I just think that the execution was not really there. So yeah.
Yeah.
What do you think about this episode overall?
Overall, I thought it was a very interesting episode. It's not gonna be in my top 10, because of certain aspects and reasons. I thought it was a nice filler episode. So overall, I really did enjoy the episode. However, like you said before, it was a very bad execution on that last bit of the episode in which we find out Karai is actually Master Splinter's lost daughter. Because we already knew the information, so it wasn't really much of like a big thing, you know. So, but overall, it was a nice little episode.
Yeah, I think that this episode was like it was fun when it needed to be fun, but I think that like the majority of the stuff it was just not really worked out too well. I mean, like the ending scene could have been better if they reshuffled the thing around to make it a little bit more better. But I think that like they needed a lot more time in the actual episode to actually make a big deal and stuff like that. And then even with the footballs, even though there was a nice addition to this, and even though there was, like, and it's a nice addition to this episode and making them a big threat in this episode, which was really great. I just think that like carrying that over into the other episodes, it was really disappointing because they don't actually do anything with them really. So I think for, like this episode, like it did a lot of stuff, but like when you really look into it, it's just like, yeah, no, this is really bad. But yeah. Okay, so, do you want to read some comments?
Yes. Let's get into the comments. Actually, no, I'll say it after the comments because it may or may not be such a big thing.
Okay. Well, yeah, do you want to read YouTube comments out?
Let's do it. If I can just get the comments up. Hold on a sec. Here we are. Right. On the YouTube side of things, we have 12 comments today. Ooh. That's interesting. First of all, a disclaimer. I apologise in advance if I get anyone's names wrong, so I do apologise about that. But let's get into it. At William Carefoot 8039. Pretty soon these footbots become nerfed, just like everyone else as well.
Yeah. I mean, pretty much after this episode, they pretty much forget about the entire thing about them like copying Toad's abilities. So that's like really annoying, but don't carry it on. But yeah.
Who's next? At Magma Striker 1436. Very nice episode, though not gonna lie, compared to the other episodes, this one didn't left too many memories, especially for Leo themed ones.
Yeah, that's nothing which I did want to bring up, but this story was almost so similar to the one, you know, one with Raph leading the team as go after Snakeweed, the first introduction of Karai. It was almost like the same sort of story, and Toad's need to realise that Leo's a good leader and stuff like that. It was almost the exact same story, repeating the same lessons and stuff like that. That's something that really annoyed me about this episode, because they could have done something interesting with Leo being a leader, but yeah, they just reiterated like the same sort of story points they've already done before, like an early episode, saying, oh yeah, Leo's the leader, we need to follow his lead and stuff like that, he's a good one and all that. I don't know if you like noticed that or not.
Yeah, I did kinda see the resemblance between the two episodes. Like it was kind of like it was feeling like it was a repeat of something, you know?
Yeah, I just don't think it. I think it could have worked better if it was more of like an original story and original lesson, other than just like repeating the same sort of stuff which they've done before. And I think that's like really annoying me about this episode. So yeah. What's the next comment?
The next comment, let's see, is at by here we are at. Sorry if I'm butchering this name again. Alu Yelzy. Sorry, I am terrible at names. Aulyasela. Aluzi? I'm so sorry.
You tried.
Leo yeah, I tried. I'm so sorry to whoever that is. Leo looks like he had enough with life. Skull face.
Yeah, the picture which I chose this one, it really did like show that he was like he was done with life. He was, yeah, I don't know if that's amazing or not, but yeah.
And the last comment, let's have a look. Oh, where is it? And sorry, 2 more comments after this one. At Trombone Enthusiast, he has the disappointed dad look, lol.
Yeah.
And yeah, I kind of do see it. Like he looks like he's like had enough. It's like, how did I get to this stage in life? Like how?
I mean,
He's just looking.
Yeah, you can't really blame him though, because like in that sort of situation, you would be like that.
Yeah, I think I would too. It's like I am so done with this. And the last comment is by @4kids TMT 2003. I myself didn't like this episode.
Yeah, but didn't really go into much detail. This said it was a long story, so I don't really know why, but I guess we'll leave it at that. And okay, so yeah, do you want to hear some trivia now?
Let's hear it.
Okay, so for some mistakes, Leonardo's voice sounds different at several points in this episode, particularly when he says, "Sensei wants me to train you guys," and also another bit where it says, "Hey ninja, ninjas never throw the weapons. It's a trap, and that's the point." This could possibly be foreshadowed to the second. This is something which is pretty interesting. So there's another voice actor that does the voice of Leonardo for this season, just because this voice actor Jason Biggs, he was very controversial, was tweeting a lot of stuff, and he was fired from the show like halfway through the season, and got another person to come in to do some and do some of the voices for the end of the season. So I must admit that's like quite interesting to hear that, because I didn't really notice that like during this episode, but yeah, that's quite interesting.
Oh.
Another error is after getting freed by Raph, Leo somehow regains his katana despite losing them both after his fight with the footballers. Okay, yeah, I didn't notice that one either, but that's interesting. Okay, so for trivia, Donnie says that there are 65 canisters, 1.5 already found, or Krang Mutant remaining in the city. And how's that a trivia? That's okay. Shredder goes off to Japan early in the episode. At Comic Con 2013, it was confirmed that Shredder would head to Japan in the season to recruit a mutant that will be coming back. And oh boy, when you see that mutant, you're gonna love the character. And like, there's no point like naming who he is because you haven't seen him before. It's like a completely original character. Oh my god, you're gonna love him.
Okay.
Karai uses Karai uses footballs to attack the Ninja Turtles. When they attack, they exclaim "Yee" or "Yee" in a manner similar to the Shocker combatant from Kamen Rider. Okay.
I was wondering why they were screaming.
Yeah, I mean, if anything, I would have thought that they would have done like more Krang sounds. But
yeah, but they're like reeing, like what? They're like, I don't know. It's like kind of remind me of like the the green frog, and he's reeing like at the top of his lungs, like the scream of reeing. That's what reminded me of that. The footbots reminded me of that.
Okay.
For some reason.
Okay, so for the next one, Makansho chants out the hook of Vanilla Ice Ninja Rap when he finds the ooze canister Karai left as bait. Yeah, this is something that happened in the second movie, The Turtles. The Turtles go into like this night bar and receive Vanilla Ice, and then all of a sudden he just starts singing a song for the Turtles called Go Ninja Go Ninja Go. And it's an interesting scene and something so 90s. And it's great that they're bringing it back, but at the same time, something should be left in the past. So yeah, at the end of the episode, when Leo and Karai are fighting, behind them is a billboard that says Stockman Industries with a picture of one of the mouses. Oh, that's quite interesting. Shame it didn't go anywhere. The name of the episode is based on the a childhood game for the leader. Sort of, yeah, I guess. This episode marks the first appearance of the robotic foot soldiers. Again, that's not really much trivia. When Raph blocks a football weapon with his left arm, it makes a metallic sound, implying that the bandages on his arm are actually metal armor guards. I don't think that's true, because I think they're just bandages, and I just think they probably used the wrong sound effects. I mean, if anything, if anything, one of the weapons was to hit Raph's arm, it would have cut him. So, yeah.
I have no clue. I have no comment on that.
Okay, so for the cast, we have Rob Paulson doing Donatello, Kelly Hu doing Cry, Jason Biggs doing Leonardo, and we have Greg Stiles doing Marquis, Sean Astin team doing Rav, Kevin Michael Richardson doing Shredder, and Hoon Lee doing Splinter. So yeah, again, there's no new people to look into, unfortunately, but yeah. Okay, so then for the next episode, it is called Mutant Man Unleashed. What do you think is going to happen in that episode?
To be honest, I really don't know. I think there's going to be a new character in the series that's going to be introduced to us. However, I'm not too sure what it's going to be though. I know the title is Mutant Man or Mutagen Man or something along those lines.
Yeah.
But to be honest, I really do think that we are going to have a new character to this series, and which I hope is the character that you were saying earlier that I am going to enjoy. So that's all I can think about at this point in time.
But yeah, I mean, you're so correct with new characters and stuff like that, so you get at least half a point. But yeah, that's pretty much all there is for this episode. Do you have anything else to say about this episode, or is all done with this one?
I just quickly wanted to point this out. I don't know what people's opinions and thoughts about this, but does this make Leo and Karai siblings?
Well, that's the thing. It's one of these really hard things to really say, because technically and biologically no, but at the same time, technically yes. I mean, stepsisters and stuff like that. But it is really weird, because when you look into it, I mean, it's very, very incesty type of thing. But the thing is, loads of people will still ship them and all that, even though technically they sort of are siblings. And then they even do play into it as well, later into it, Leo and Karai, sort of tease it in a way. So it's really hard to say if they are, but technically yes they are, but not, only stepsisters and stepbrothers and all that. But it's just so weird the more you look into it, because yeah. Oh god.
Shall we leave this, shall we?
We're doing step bro.
No.
So yeah, it's just a really weird thing. Technically no, not really, but technically yes. It's just this really weird thing. The more you really think about it, the more messed up it is. But the show doesn't really help it either with how they do things. It's just so messed up, the whole situation. And Nickelodeon didn't really think anything of it, not to stop or anything like that. So it's just so weird. Just don't even think about it, because it becomes so disgusting when you really think about it. But yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't really anything else to really add on to this episode. I feel
yeah, me neither.
But yeah. If you don't go onto the podcast, you can leave a comment on Reddit, Facebook, YouTube, Anchor, either through the voice message or text message. We're now upgrading to the Instagram threads thing, so yeah, that's something. Yeah, I've been your host Teddy.
And I've been Hayden.
And we'll see you all soon. Goodbye. Yo. Bye.
Bye.